Before we dive in, I've got a quick question for you. Where are you watching from right now? And what time is it? Drop it in the comments. I love seeing how far and wide our viewers are tuning in. Now, imagine this. Chainsaw, unhinged, suddenly enters the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. What happens next? Let's find out. The skies above Japan feel wrong. Not stormy, not supernatural in a familiar way, but distorted, like reality itself is stretching too far. Jujutsu censors flare across the country as sorcerers feel something alien tearing its way into their world. This isn't cursed energy. It isn't a spirit forming. It's something that shouldn't exist here, something born from fear, but crafted in a completely different rulebook. A massive tear rips open in the sky, spiraling like a twisted wound in space. Out of it, something crashes down. Loud, violent, unapologetically destructive. Streets crack, buildings tremble, and dust explodes everywhere. When the smoke clears, lying in a crater, battered but grinning, is Denji. Just a clueless human with the personality of a stray dog who somehow learned to walk on two legs and the aura of a nightmare that shouldn't be walking around freely. Within seconds, curses begin to swarm the area, drawn by instinct, attracted like flies to rotting meat. They can't explain why, but every fiber of their existence screams that this thing is tied to fear in a way even they don't fully understand. Denji blinks, looks around, realizes he's definitely not home, and does the most Denji thing possible. He shrugs, gets annoyed, and pulls the cord on his chest. The sound of the chainsaw roared tears through the silence. Suddenly, the streets explode into chaos. Curses rush him. Chains rip through flesh and cursed bodies in a blur of violent, messy, unapologetic brutality. There's no technique, no strategy, just raw aggression, wild swings, endless regeneration, and unfiltered carnage. Denji isn't fighting to protect anyone. He isn't fighting to maintain balance. He's fighting because he can. Because it's loud, it's insane, and honestly, it feels like fun. Meanwhile, Megumi and Yuji arrive on the scene. They freeze for a moment, not because they're scared, but because they can't categorize what they're seeing. This thing looks human, but it fights like a curse. It bleeds like a person, but it eats fear like its fuel. Yuji feels uneasy, like he's staring at something wrong, something that shouldn't exist in their world. Megumi analyzes quickly. This isn't a curse. This isn't a sorcerer. This is a walking contradiction. As Chainsaw Man rips through curse after curse, Yuji finally moves, ready to intervene before this thing turns on civilians. But before he can act, Denji stops, chainsaws dripping, staring at them with that wild, dumb, dangerous energy. For a split second, everything goes quiet. Two worlds lock eyes. No explanations, no introductions, just tension. And already, the Jujutsu world has no idea what it has just invited in. Yuji takes a cautious step forward, raising his hand slightly, trying to speak before things go south. Hey, whatever you are, calm down. We're not your enemies. Denji tilts his head like a confused dog. Chainsaws humming as the sound vibrates through the streets. To him, this isn't diplomacy. This is a weird guy in a tracksuit talking too much. He doesn't know where he is, he doesn't know who these people are, and honestly, he doesn't care. He just knows he fell into a place where monsters attack him on sight. So he assumes everyone here probably wants to fight. Megumi immediately senses it. The lack of restraint. This isn't like Yuji, who still thinks about people. This thing fights purely on instinct and thrill. Yuji, be careful, Megumi mutters. He feels like danger itself. Before Yuji can respond, another massive special-grade curse crawls from the rubble, towering over buildings, a grotesque amalgamation of twisted faces and screaming mouths. Its presence alone is enough to make nearby civilians pass out from dread. Normally, this would be a terrifying threat. Normally, this would demand strategy, teamwork, and calculated risk. Denji looks at it and bursts out laughing. He charges straight at it without hesitation, leaping high, chainsaw arms tearing through cursed flesh like wet paper. Blood sprays everywhere. Not human blood, but something far more sinister. Yet Denji treats it like some insane playground, brawl. The curse screeches, firing waves of corrupted energy, ripping streets apart, but Denji doesn't dodge, doesn't fear, doesn't even slow down. He just keeps moving forward, like the pain means nothing. Yuji can't believe what he's seeing. He's insane. Megumi's eyes are narrow. No, he's fearless, and that's exactly what makes him terrifying. Denji gets slammed into a building, rubble collapsing over him. Any normal fighter would be down. But then the rumbling sound starts again, the growing whine of chains, and Denji bursts back out, laughing even harder than before, like the damage only made him more excited. With one brutal final slash, he tears the curse apart completely. Not purified, not exorcised. Just gone. The air feels wrong afterward. Even the leftover trace of cursed energy disappears. Yuji and Megumi stare. Sorcerers don't erase curses like that. They destroy them, sure. But this was annihilation on a deeper level. Like the curse never truly existed in the first place. For a moment, Denji simply stands there, breathing heavily, chainsaws dripping, surrounded by ruin. Then he slowly turns back toward Yuji and Megumi. Neither side speaks, because right now, both of them are arriving at the same realization. This isn't a weapon they can casually control. This isn't an ally they can easily reason with, and this definitely isn't something their world was prepared to handle. Somewhere far away, powerful sorcerers feel the shockwave of what just happened. The higher-ups grow restless. A presence like this rewrites the balance of fear in their world, and someone like Satoru Gojo can't help but smirk, sensing something unbelievably entertaining just arrived. But on the battlefield right now, it's just Yuji, Megumi, and Chainsaw Man. And this uneasy standoff is only the beginning of the chaos to come. Yuji swallows, tightening his fists, every instinct screaming that if this thing decides to go wild, the entire district is done for. He doesn't sense malice, but he definitely senses unpredictability. That might actually be worse. Megumi's brain is racing. If this being relies on fear, then technically it shouldn't function the same way curses do. It's not shaped by society's negative emotions like the beings they're used to fighting. It's almost like a natural disaster with a human shape, something that doesn't care about rules, systems, or consequences. Denji finally breaks the silence in the most Denji way possible. He points at them with a chainsaw, tilts his head, and shouts in his loud, bratty voice, "Hey, you guys are enemies or what? If not, point me where the monsters are, 'cause I'm tired of getting jumped for free." Yuji almost falls over. Megumi blinks. This creature talks, not like a curse, not like something ancient and wise, like some idiot teenager who got dropped into the wrong neighborhood. That somehow makes him even more dangerous. He's powerful, reckless, and stupidly straightforward. Before they can reply, Megumi senses more movement, multiple signatures. Curses are flooding the area like sharks smelling blood in the water. They're attracted to Denji not because he's prey, but because he's a predator that feels like them, yet isn't one of them. Something instinctual is pulling them in. Megumi mutters, "They're coming again." Yuji clenches his jaw. "Then we fight." But Denji has already sprinted past them. He doesn't even wait for strategy or positioning. He just dives headfirst into the chaos, chainsaws roaring, laughing like this is the best day of his life. Curses swarm him from every direction, ripping, tearing, crushing, but each time he goes down, he drags them with him, refusing to stay still, refusing to die, refusing to be overwhelmed. His regeneration kicks in again and again, flesh stitching back together as chains scream and concrete explodes. Yuji looks at him with something that isn't fear, but something close to awe. "Megumi, do you get it? He isn't fighting for justice. He isn't fighting for duty. He isn't even fighting for survival." Megumi nods slightly. He's fighting because he wants to, because he enjoys it. That makes him more dangerous than any curse we've faced. The battlefield becomes a nightmare playground. Denji leaps onto a skyscraper wall, dragging his chainsaws through concrete as he climbs vertically like some feral monster. He launches himself off, spinning mid-air, shredding 3 curses in a horizontal swipe that sends cursed flesh raining like hail. He hits the ground, rolls, pops back up, laughing hysterically, drenched in blood and debris. Yuji finally joins the fight to prevent nearby civilians from getting dragged into the mess, while Megumi summons his Shikigami to push back any curses escaping Denji's rampage. They aren't fighting with him. They're managing the disaster he's creating. And yet, there's something strange happening. Curses that touch Denji don't just die. They fade. Their energy evaporates completely, leaving nothing behind. No residual essence, no trace of existence. It's like reality deletes them the moment he finishes them off. That terrifies Megumi more than anything. Because in Jujutsu society, everything is about balance. Curses exist because humans fear. Sorcerers exist because curses exist. It's a brutal, ugly ecosystem, but it's stable. Something like Denji? He doesn't just break the rules, he threatens the foundation of their world. Yuji finally manages to catch Denji's attention mid-battle, yelling, "Hey! If you keep going like this, everything's going to collapse. Calm down already." Denji pauses for half a second, then grins beneath the helmet of blades. "Collapse? Sounds fun!" And he charges again. Megumi exhales sharply. Yeah, this is a problem. Because this isn't just some random intruder. This is a walking catastrophe disguised as a guy with stupidly simple motives, and the Jujutsu world has absolutely no idea how to contain something like him. Yuji's patience finally snaps. He rushes forward, clashing into Denji in the middle of the chaos, blocking one of his wild swings with brute strength. Sparks scream as chainsaw teeth grind against Yuji's reinforced arm. For a split second, neither gives in. It's pure force versus pure madness. "Listen!" Yuji yells over the violent roar. "If you keep fighting like a lunatic, people are going to die. If you want to fight, then fight with us, not against everything that moves." Denji just stares at him through the roaring blaze of spinning metal. He isn't angry. He isn't hostile. He looks annoyed. "I fell out of the sky. Monsters jumped me, and now you're lecturing me like a teacher. You want me to play hero? Then someone better tell me what's going on and maybe promise something worth fighting for." Megumi freezes for a second at that line. Denji isn't motivated by ideals. He needs something selfish, something simple, something he wants. Yuji realizes the same thing at almost the exact same moment. But before they can promise him anything, the sky rumbles again. Every sorcerer within miles feels it. A suffocating swell of cursed energy rolls across the city like a suffocating tide. The kind of force that demands respect. The kind that makes even special grades hesitate. Denji stops mid-motion, chainsaws humming lower, like even his chaos instinctively recognizes something strong has appeared. Then, footsteps. Calm, unhurried, almost lazy. Dust parts, reality seems to lighten up. And through the smoke, hands in pockets, ridiculous blindfold in place, that familiar, easy grin stretching across his face. Satoru Gojo walks in like he's late to a party he already knew he would enjoy. Yuji exhales in relief. Megumi straightens slightly, tension easing and tightening at the same time. Because Gojo being here means things are under control, or about to get way worse in a funnier way. Gojo tilts his head, examining Denji like a scientist staring at a fascinating new specimen. "So this is the noisy little guest shaking up my world today, huh?" Denji stares right back, unimpressed, revving his saws louder as if Gojo's aura challenges him on instinct. Gojo smirks. "Relax. I'm not here to scold you. I just want to see what you are." He snaps his fingers lightly. The battlefield freezes. Curses trying to flee disintegrate instantly the moment Gojo acknowledges them, but Denji? He doesn't back down. Instead, he takes a step forward. The chainsaws grind harder. His presence flares like something feral refusing to be intimidated. And Gojo laughs softly. "Oh, you're interesting." He senses it now. Not cursed energy, not cursed technique, something raw, older, more primal. It's the same concept curses are born from fear, but twisted into something living, breathing, and willful. Something that isn't controlled by the world's rules, but by its own existence. Yuji whispers, "Sensei, Can we handle him? Gojo grins wider. Handle him? I don't even know if we should. Denji tightens his grip. He doesn't care who this guy is. Strong, weak, god, monster, none of that matters. All Denji understands is simple. This guy feels strong. Strong things mean strong fights. Strong fights are fun. The street trembles as he kicks forward, chainsaws roaring like a demon orchestra. For just a fraction of a second, Gojo looks genuinely excited, like a kid opening a gift he wasn't expecting to get. Everything explodes into motion. Yuji shields civilians. Megumi prepares to summon. The ground fractures beneath the power about to collide. And somewhere deep within Sukuna, a sharp, amused curiosity awakens, as if even he is peeking through Yuji's chest just to witness what's happening. Because this isn't just an intruder anymore. This is an anomaly. A rule breaker. A force that doesn't belong to curses, sorcerers, humanity, or any system of order. Chainsaw Man has landed in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. And from this moment on, nothing in this world will ever feel stable again. The moment Denji lunges at Gojo, the battlefield shifts from chaotic destruction to pure spectacle. Denji rockets forward like a missile wrapped in madness, chainsaws screaming as sparks rain across shattered pavement. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't analyze. He just attacks, aiming to slice through the strongest presence in the area. To Denji, this is simple. Strong guy equals strong fight. No philosophy needed. But to Gojo, this is entertainment. With a casual tilt of his head, Gojo lets infinity bloom around him. Denji's chainsaw inches toward his neck, then slows, then stops entirely, endlessly approaching yet never connecting. Metal teeth grind, screaming in protest, trying to devour distance that simply doesn't exist. Denji pushes harder. Blood sprays, muscles strain. He laughs. Because even though he isn't hitting anything, this resistance feels exciting. This isn't a wall. This is something weird, something different, something worthy. Yuji watches in disbelief. He's still pushing. How? Megumi narrows his eyes. It's like his entire body refuses to accept limits. Even his existence feels like rebellion. Gojo chuckles softly. Persistent, aren't you? Before Denji can even react, Gojo flicks a finger. Boom! Denji rockets backward, smashing through two ruined buses and skidding across the asphalt, carving a trench through the concrete. For half a second, everything goes quiet. Normally, that kind of blow would leave someone broken, unconscious, or at least rattled. Denji pops right back up. Bones snap back in place, flesh reshapes, chainsaws rev louder, like he just got excited by being thrown like a rag doll. He crouches, leans forward, then charges again, even hungrier than before. Gojo grins wider. This time, Denji doesn't just swing wildly. He adapts. He feints, twists midair, launches his chainsaw from a sharper angle, trying to exploit blind spots that shouldn't exist. But Gojo is untouchable. Infinity bends space again and again, shrugging off every attempt like Denji is just poking at reality with a chainsaw. Still, every failed strike only makes Denji more thrilled. He isn't discouraged. He isn't frustrated. He isn't scared. He's entertained. Yuji breathes out, half relieved, half horrified. He won't stop. Megumi nods. And Gojo won't let him hit. This fight could tear the city apart. Meanwhile, Jujutsu higher-ups dispatch stronger sorcerers to surround the area, not to fight Gojo, but to contain Denji if he somehow slips past. They whisper theories. Is he a curse? A failed experiment? A walking disaster? None of them have an answer. Denji leaps again, reckless and fearless, chainsaws blazing like war sirens. Gojo sighs and decides to test him properly. Gojo lifts one finger, like he's casually choosing a channel on TV. The air shifts, space bends. A crushing pressure rolls outward, not violent but absolute. Denji doesn't slow down. He can't. His nature won't allow hesitation. He dives straight into Gojo's overwhelming presence like a moth willingly flying into a star. And then reality breaks around him. Purple sparks of warped space ripple as Gojo twists the battlefield, forcing Denji off balance, redirecting his charge with invisible force. Denji slams into the ground, skids, and immediately lunges again. No breath, no pause. Just relentless hunger for the next hit. Gojo laughs under his breath. Yeah, you're definitely my kind of problem. Yuji shouts from the sidelines. Sensei, don't destroy the whole city. Gojo waves a hand lazily without looking back. Relax, relax. I'm being gentle, Tilda. Gentle. While casually dismantling a monster that can chew through special grades like snacks. Denji vanishes into a blur, circling around to flank Gojo. For a normal opponent, this would work: speed, unpredictability, aggression. But Gojo doesn't see Denji's movement. He sees everything. Infinity blooms again. Denji gets trapped in an endless approach, his chainsaw endlessly traveling, never arriving. That should frustrate any fighter mentally. But Denji's mind doesn't work like that. Instead of panicking, instead of questioning, he simply roars louder, forces more blood, more effort, more insanity into the attack. Yuji watches closely. He doesn't understand fear, does he? Megumi replies quietly. No, he weaponizes it. Gojo flicks his wrist. The world tilts. Denji is launched into the sky like a rocket, punching through clouds before gravity drags him screaming back down. He hits the ground so hard the shockwave splits open the street in a spider web of destruction. Silence. Then the chainsaws start again. That sound crawls into everyone's spine. Denji pushes himself out of the crater, half torn apart, face split, chest ripped open, and laughs, a raw, animalistic laugh. Not human joy, not confidence. Pure thrill. Gojo's smile finally sharpens. He isn't just amused anymore. He's intrigued. All right then, let's see how far you go. Before anyone can blink, Gojo is in front of Denji. Zero distance, infinity humming, overwhelming. Denji reacts on instinct, swinging upward with everything he has. Metal screeches, sparks explode. The sound tears the air apart. It still doesn't land. Gojo leans close, voice calm, playful, but deeply curious. You're not a curse. You're not human. You're something else entirely. A creature born from fear itself, but you're not controlled by it. You own it. Denji doesn't care what that means. He just knows someone strong is right in his face, so he bites him, like a feral animal. And Infinity stops the bite too. Yuji nearly chokes. He just tried to bite Gojo? Megumi sighs internally. Yeah, that tracks somehow. Gojo taps Denji's helmet with a fingertip. Boom! Denji is blasted backward again, carving another path through shattered buildings, but even mid-flight he twists, slams his chainsaws into the ground, drags himself to a brutal stop, and charges once more. No hesitation, no thought, no slowing, just forward. And that's when other sorcerers step in. A containment team surrounds Denji, barriers glowing, talismans cracking with sealing energy. They know they can't defeat him. That much is obvious. But maybe they can restrict him. Maybe they can box in this hurricane before it swallows the entire city. Beams of cursed energy crash down on Denji, flooding him with restriction after restriction. Ropes of energy coil around him. Seals burn into his flesh. Gravity techniques drag him toward the pavement. Denji laughs harder. He pulls. The chainsaws rev louder. The seals strain, crack, and shatter. The shockwave knocks several sorcerers back, blood spraying from their mouths as they hit the ground. Denji turns toward them with that chaotic, predatory interest in his eyes, not out of hatred, just because they look like something he can fight next. Yuji jumps in to intercept. Megumi prepares another summon. Gojo watches, calm and unflinching, analyzing every reaction Denji shows. This isn't a random rampage anymore. This is a clash of worlds, of philosophies, of systems. Jujutsu runs on rules, on structure, on an ecosystem of fear and balance. Chainsaw Man is the embodiment of ripping those rules apart just because he feels like it. And in this moment, every sorcerer realizes the same horrifying truth. If they can't control him, they'll eventually have to decide whether to destroy him. Sorcerers regroup, bloodied but determined, forming a defensive perimeter as Denji stalks forward, chainsaws humming like a heartbeat made of steel and rage. He doesn't sprint this time. He walks, slowly, casually, like a predator who already knows nothing here can truly stop him. Yuji steps in front of the others, planting his feet. Enough! If you're going to fight someone, fight me! Denji pauses, head tilting, chainsaws revving a little louder. A challenge, a direct one. Simple. That's something his brain understands very well. Megumi silently curses. This is dangerous. Yuji isn't weak, but Denji isn't something you spar with. He's a force. But before Megumi can stop him, Yuji charges. His fist slams into Denji's torso with everything he has: raw strength, cursed energy, determination enough to blow apart normal enemies. Denji barely stumbles. Yuji's eyes widened. Denji grins. Then he swings. Yuji blocks with both arms, but the moment chainsaw teeth grind against his reinforced body, sparks burst and blood sprays. It's not a clean cut. Infinity isn't saving him here. It's brutal, grinding destruction. Yuji roars in pain and forcefully kicks Denji back before his arms get shredded completely. Megumi immediately reacts, sending Shikigami crashing in to buy Yuji time. Nua's lightning cracks down. Divine dogs lunge. But this is the problem. Denji doesn't hesitate. He doesn't dodge. He doesn't even consider retreat. Lightning scorches him. Shikigami tear into his flesh. He just keeps moving forward, ripping through them with the same obsession as always. Every wound closes in seconds. Every injury only fuels that hysterical, manic thrill inside him. Megumi! Yuji grits through pain. We can't outlast him! I know, Megumi snaps. So we limit him. A massive shadow explodes beneath Denji Megumi, forcing his technique to its limit. Binding shadows, crushing pressure, layers of cursed restraint stacking at once. This isn't elegant jujutsu anymore. This is a survival instinct. Denji strains. Muscles bulge. Chainsaws screech harder. The ground cracks beneath him as he drags himself forward despite the crushing hold, laughing like someone told him the most exciting joke in the world. That laugh sends chills through every sorcerer nearby. Because this isn't just strength. This is willpower bordering on insanity. Gojo watches, arms folded, expression now genuinely analytical. He isn't stepping in. Not yet. He wants data. He wants to see what this chainsaw man does when cornered. What his instincts truly are. Yuji lunges back into the fight, this time more careful, more tactical, trying to strike Denji during the moments Megumi's binding holds him. But there is a harsh truth staring them in the face. Denji fights like an idiot, but he isn't predictable. He suddenly whips around, his chainsaw tail bursting out behind him, nearly taking Yuji's head off. Then he uses the momentum to spin, shredding through shadow restraints like they're paper. Megumi stumbles back, coughing blood from the rebound of his broken technique. Denji roars and charges again until Gojo appears between them in a blink. Not smiling now. Still calm, but more serious. That's enough playtime, he says softly. Denji slashes. Infinity blocks. Gojo gently places a finger on Denji's chest. A violent shock of compressed force detonates. Denji is launched backward again, body breaking into pieces before violently regenerating mid-flight, landing hard, skidding, then crouching as the chainsaws rev once more. He's still ready, still laughing, still wanting more. And that's when the deeper problem settles into every sorcerer's mind. They can't exhaust him. They can't reason with him. They can't seal him easily. They can't kill him without risking everything. Yuji breathes heavily, staring. He just doesn't stop. Megumi wipes blood from his mouth. No, he can't stop. This is who he is. Gojo's gaze sharpens with that rare seriousness he only shows in front of world-ending threats and truly fascinating anomalies. Yeah, he murmurs. And now we have to decide if we're dealing with a future ally. He lowers his hand, endless pressure radiating like calm death. Or a natural disaster that just learned how to smile. Denji rises again, shoulders rolling, chainsaws spitting sparks like they're laughing with him. His chest is split, his helmet cracked. Half his torso looks like it was crushed and stitched back together in the ugliest way possible, but his posture? Completely relaxed, completely fearless, like pain is just background noise. The sorcerers tense. Because at this point, it's not about whether Denji can fight. It's about the fact that he's enjoying this way too much. Yuji wipes blood from his arms, breathing hard. If he keeps going, we're going to lose people, buildings, everything. We need to end this, Sensei. Megumi stays silent, watching Denji's body language like he's trying to read a different species entirely. Denji isn't strategizing. He isn't waiting. He isn't stalling. He's deciding who to attack next. And that unpredictability is terrifying. Denji leans forward, chainsaws revving at full scream. Again, Gojo vanishes. Not running. Positioning. He appears right in front of Denji mid-charge, hand casually pressing down like he's stopping a child from rushing ahead. Infinity locks Denji in place again, his chainsaws endlessly forcing forward. But this time there's weight in Gojo's presence. Not playful testing. Not teasing curiosity. Authority. Listen, Gojo says calmly, voice steady despite the chaos tearing the city apart around them. I don't know what you are yet. I don't know what you want, but I do know this. If you keep treating our world like your playground, I'm going to have to break you. Denji stares at him through the roaring metal. Then he laughs, not definitely, not insultingly, like he just heard the exact sentence he wanted to hear. Gojo sighs lightly. Yeah, thought so. He tightens his grip slightly. A crushing wave of invisible force slams Denji to the ground. Pavement shatters, buildings tremble. Sorcerers shield themselves from the shockwave. Gojo doesn't unleash hollow purple. He doesn't open domain expansion. He doesn't use killing intent. He applies pressure. Enough to break special grades. Enough to crush lesser beings completely. Denji's limbs tremble. Metal teeth grind against the road. His bones snap and reform. His body spasms between destruction and regeneration, trapped in a cycle of collapse and rebirth. Any normal being would scream. Denji laughs harder. And then he moves. Slow. Painful. Monstrous. But he moves anyway. Every inch forward is pure defiance. Every twitch is a refusal to obey reality. Yuji feels the hair on his neck rise. He's pushing through Gojo's pressure. Megumi can barely process it. That shouldn't be possible. Denji drags himself upward like some nightmare refusing to stay buried, chainsaws continuing to roar, ripping through resistance like stubborn, feral determination given physical form. Gojo actually stops smiling for a second. Now you're just being ridiculous. He pushes harder. The ground caves deeper. Cracks race across the battlefield like fractures in the world itself. The air feels heavy enough to suffocate weaker sorcerers. Denji twitches, stops, and finally drops to one knee. Not defeated. Not broken. Just paused. He's not giving up. He physically can't push any further. Yuji exhales, chest tight. Megumi finally allows himself to breathe. For the first time since this started, the battlefield feels like it isn't spiraling completely out of control. Gojo studies him in silence. Denji doesn't beg. He doesn't rant. He doesn't rage. He just stares back, chainsaws still humming like he's memorizing the feeling of being overwhelmed, storing it away as fuel for the next time. Gojo finally relaxes his posture. The pressure fades. Denji collapses forward to one hand, catching himself, body healing rapidly again until he's steady enough to stand. He doesn't attack immediately. He doesn't lunge. He waits. Yuji realizes it first. He's not done, but he's acknowledging it. Megumi nods slowly. He recognizes strength, not authority. Just strength. Gojo smirks faintly again. Good. That means we can talk. The battlefield is wrecked. Streets destroyed. Buildings torn apart. Seals shattered. Sorcerers injured. The city was scarred. But for the first time since Chainsaw Man crashed into this universe, there is a fragile, dangerous balance. No one cheers. No one relaxes fully. Because this wasn't a victory. It was a message. Denji will fight anyone, anything, any system, any rule, and unless he's given a reason not to, he'll keep tearing his way through this world simply because it's fun. And now, every sorcerer here understands the terrifying reality. They just survived the first clash. But the true battle with Chainsaw Man is only beginning. All right, this is where things stop being chaos for fun and start becoming terrifying. Up until now, Denji has been carving his way through curses, confusing sorcerers, and basically turning Shibuya into a bloody action festival. But in a world like Jujutsu Kaisen, if you make too much noise, the wrong kind of monster is eventually going to notice you. And in this case, that monster is none other than the king of curses himself, Ryomen Sukuna. Now imagine this moment like a cinematic pause in the middle of madness. The city is shaking, curses are screaming, sorcerers are on edge. And somewhere deep inside Yuji Itadori's consciousness, Sukuna opens his eyes with this slow, sinister grin. Because to him, Denji isn't just some dumb, loud kid with chainsaws. He's something different, something wrong, something that shouldn't exist in this world. Sukuna immediately picks up on it. This isn't cursed energy. This isn't a regular curse. This isn't anything like Mahito, Jogo, or any of the creatures he's used to dominating. Denji feels like an intruder, like a being from a completely different rule book. And if there's one thing Sukuna hates and loves at the same time, it's a challenge to his authority. Meanwhile, outside, the battlefield is starting to calm just a bit. Sorcerers are regrouping. Civilians are slowly being cleared. But Denji? He's still laughing, still swinging, still drenched in blood like he's having the best day of his life. He hasn't slowed down. He hasn't gotten tired. And even when he does get injured, that insane regeneration kicks in and he just keeps going. And somewhere nearby, Yuji suddenly freezes. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know what triggered it. But inside him, Sukuna is laughing. That low, arrogant, amused laugh that means something interesting has entered the world. You know how Sukuna is. He doesn't care about saving people. He doesn't care about curses or heroes or balance. He only cares about dominance, power, and entertainment. And Denji, with his reckless fearlessness and absolute disregard for his own life, is basically a walking invitation. Sukuna leans forward in Yuji's mental realm, watching Denji through metaphorical eyes, studying him like prey. Now this is amusing, he'd say in that cold, proud tone. A creature that bleeds like a human, fights like a beast, and smells like something entirely foreign. What are you? And that's when it hits him. Denji isn't driven by hatred. He isn't driven by despair. He isn't controlled by some tragic destiny. He's driven by something so stupidly human that it actually makes Sukuna curious. Selfish wants, simple desires, pure instinct. Denji fights because he wants to. He destroys because it makes him feel alive. He doesn't fear death, because death has never truly owned him. And if there is one thing that irritates and intrigues Sukuna at the same time, it's someone who refuses to kneel before the natural order of fear. So while Gojo is gone, sorcerers are stressed, and curses are regrouping, Sukuna finally decides. This is no longer just chaos happening in his world. This is personal interest. The king of curses wants to meet the Chainsaw Devil. Sukuna doesn't make his presence obvious immediately. He doesn't need to. Even in Yuji's body, he radiates an aura so malevolent, so refined, that any cursed being nearby instinctively shivers. It's subtle, almost like the calm before a storm, but anyone sensitive to cursed energy can feel it, can sense the danger. And for Denji, someone who thrives on chaos and carnage, this is fascinating. Denji notices it first as a prickling in the back of his neck, that little hair-raising sense that says something powerful is watching you. He spins around mid-swing, chainsaws revving, eyes wide, scanning the street littered with wreckage and smoke. The air feels heavier. Tension drips off the buildings like blood from a cut. And then he grins, stupidly, wildly, as if sensing that the fun part is about to begin. Sukuna doesn't speak at first. He observes. Every movement Denji makes, every twist, every slash, every insane grin is catalogued. Most beings in Jujutsu Kaisen special grades, curses, even sorcerers, would be terrified to exist under Sukuna's gaze. They would shrink, falter, beg for mercy. Denji? He laughs. He revs the chainsaws, dashes forward, and literally screams at the air like he's challenging the invisible. Yuji panics. Sensei, he's provoking Sukuna. Megumi grimaces. Do you realize what he's doing? Because provoking Sukuna isn't like poking a random curse. Sukuna notices anomalies. Sukuna reacts to threat, amusement, and potential utility. And Denji's reckless energy, his fearlessness, his absolute refusal to die even in the most brutal circumstances, has piqued Sukuna's curiosity beyond casual interest. This is the sort of being Sukuna doesn't just eliminate. He studies, he toys with, he tests. And then, the world shifts. Not literally, but the atmosphere bends. Yuji feels it immediately in his bones. Sukuna's presence surges subtly at first, but undeniably like a ripple in the air, pressing down on Denji, on the city, on everyone in the vicinity. He feels it too. That primal dread that can't be explained. The instinct that says, you are being watched, and that attention could destroy you or make you stronger. Denji grins, revs his chainsaws louder, and yells, "Come on, show yourself, old man!" Sukuna chuckles inside Yuji's body, a deep, amused sound. Impertinent, fearless, or utterly stupid. Perhaps all three. His interest spikes. This isn't a mere nuisance, a weak mortal, or a curse born of fear. This is a creature that fights without caution, a being that disregards every rule of existence in this world, and yet continues to thrive. Sukuna leans forward in his domain, mentally stretching toward the chaos, testing Denji's reaction. He manifests a fraction of his cursed energy in the city streets, not enough to harm, but enough to tease. The ground quakes slightly, shadows twist unnaturally, and a wave of cold dread washes over Denji. Most people would falter. Most beings would run or hide. Denji? He laughs even harder. Ha ha, that's all you got. I've been hit harder by a traffic cone. That sheer, unflinching audacity makes Sukuna pause. He's never met someone who treats his presence like it's a minor inconvenience. He's intrigued, deeply. And for the first time in a long time, the King of Curses isn't simply amused. He's curious about the potential. Sukuna finally decides he's going to engage directly, but not yet, not fully. First, he wants to see what this chainsaw man is made of. How far can he push? How much can he endure? How chaotic can he become before that chaos becomes a weapon or a liability? Because in Sukuna's mind, Denji isn't just another creature. He could be a tool, a threat, or an ally. But before any of that is determined, he must understand him. And as Denji revs his chainsaws, slicing through lingering cursed spirits like it's a casual game, Sukuna smiles that terrible, calculating smile. He knows this. This meeting, this collision, is the beginning of something much bigger than either the Jujutsu Sorcerers or Denji could possibly imagine. The air grows heavier, the city trembles, and the King of Curses, for the first time in a long time, has found something that genuinely excites him. Sukuna's eyes, sharp and malevolent, fix on Denji like a predator noticing a prey with the audacity to fight back. And in that instant, it's clear. Denji isn't just chaos. He's a puzzle. And Sukuna loves puzzles. Sukuna's curiosity isn't idle amusement. It's active, dangerous, and intensely calculating. Inside Yuji's body, he shifts subtly, testing limits, observing reactions, and imagining scenarios. Denji, with his reckless grin and chainsaws still screaming, represents the type of chaos Sukuna hasn't felt in a long time. Not structured chaos like Mahito's manipulations, not strategic destruction like Yogo, but raw, unfiltered, relentless chaos. Denji notices it slowly, the subtle pressure, the way the air itself seems to thrum with danger. He stops mid-swing for the first time, not out of fear, not out of respect, but curiosity. "Huh, that's new," he mutters. chainsaws idling slightly. That instinctual recognition of a strong presence, something beyond normal fight or flight, triggers something primal in him, the need to test it. Sukuna leans further into this observation, and the tension in the streets grows. Sorcerers feel it immediately. The difference between ordinary cursed energy and something far older, far more dangerous, watching from the shadows. Megumi grips his weapon tighter. Yuji sweats, recognizing a sensation he's been trying to ignore since he swallowed Sukuna. This thing sees all, knows all, and toys with everything in its path. Denji doesn't care about subtlety. He doesn't care about analysis. He laughs again, the kind of laugh that makes anyone sane step back. "Hey, who's messing with me?" His chainsaws rev, sparks flying, eyes scanning, as if challenging this unseen force to do something. Sukuna's grin widens. He's entertained. This isn't just a brute. It's not just a human with a chainsaw fetish. It's a force unshackled by rules. A being that thrives on reckless combat. And most importantly, its raw potential. A thought forms in Sukuna's mind. This thing could devour curses like prey. He imagines Denji tearing through special grades, absorbing energy in ways that defy the natural order. That alone sparks interest. Denji could disrupt the ecosystem Sukuna thrives in, yet also provide amusement if managed correctly. Sukuna decides to test Denji indirectly first. He manifests a small fraction of his cursed energy in the form of an enormous, twisted hand emerging from the rubble nearby. It's not meant to kill, only to provoke. The ground trembles as it stretches toward Denji. Most people would flee. Most people would panic. Denji? He jumps toward it, chainsaws spinning, laughing hysterically. He slashes into the massive cursed hand, shredding it to pieces in seconds. Bits of debris and cursed essence scatter, but Denji barely notices. He's thrilled by the sheer size, the challenge, the fun of it. Sukuna narrows his eyes. That wasn't supposed to happen. He expected resistance, fear, pain, hesitation. Instead, Denji reveled in it. He enjoyed it. The realization hits Sukuna like a jolt. This isn't a creature that fears power, rules, or consequences. This is a being that thrives on challenge itself. And suddenly, Sukuna's amusement deepens into genuine intrigue. "You're different," he mutters internally, his tone almost reflective. "I haven't seen something like you in a long time." Denji, oblivious to the compliment, charges forward again. He cuts through lingering, cursed spirits as if they were nothing, carving a path of carnage and chaos. Each swing, each rev, each roar of the chainsaw is a statement. "I exist. I fight. I don't care about your world." Yuji shouts, "Denji, be careful." Megumi adds, "Do you understand what you're dealing with?" Denji just waves them off. "I'm having fun. Isn't this great?" Sukuna's grin twists into something sharper. He senses the raw fear potential in Denji, the kind that could rival even the strongest curses if harnessed. Yet unlike other beings, Denji is unpredictable. He doesn't think strategically. He doesn't calculate. He acts. And that action itself is terrifying because it's immune to conventional expectations. Sukuna leans further, the air around Yuji thickening as his curiosity grows. He imagines Denji fighting side by side with him, fighting against him, and even fighting without him noticing. Every scenario spins in Sukuna's mind, each more entertaining, more dangerous, more fascinating than the last. And then Sukuna makes a decision. Not a full engagement yet, not a battle, but enough to show his presence unmistakably. The air shimmers. Shadows lengthen unnaturally. Every curse in the vicinity shudders. Even the Jujutsu Sorcerers step back instinctively, and from the corner of Denji's eye he sees it. A fleeting, distorted silhouette. 2 faces, 4 eyes, grin sharp enough to pierce steel. Denji laughs again. "Finally! Someone looks fun." Sukuna's grin widens, dark and hungry. This is it. The game has begun. And for the first time, the King of Curses is genuinely excited by someone who might just match the chaos he thrives on. The collision isn't physical yet, but the tension is palpable. Sukuna has found a wild card unlike anything in his world, and Denji, completely unaware of the danger, is already charging headfirst into what will become the most dangerous dance either of them has ever encountered. The stage is set: chaos versus cunning, instinct versus calculation, and the Jujutsu Kaisen universe will never be the same again. Sukuna hasn't revealed himself fully yet, not in a way that Denji can understand. Instead, he toys, teasing from the shadows, making his presence known in subtle ways. The air shifts, the temperature drops unnaturally. Shadows twist around Denji, reaching toward him like skeletal fingers. Each one feels alive, predatory, testing his reflexes, poking at his instincts. Denji stops mid-swing, revs his chainsaws, and snarls, "Come on, you want a piece of me? Show yourself." His grin is manic, wide, unafraid. And that unflinching boldness only deepens Sukuna's interest. Most beings would falter at this point. Most would hesitate. But Denji? He's a storm that thrives on challenge. The twisted shadows move faster, coiling around his legs, slicing the air with lethal precision. Denji leaps, chainsaws swinging, tearing through them with reckless abandon. Yet even as he destroys Sukuna's manifestations, he can feel the force lingering, probing, analyzing him. This is no ordinary fight. This is an evaluation, a test from a predator who is both amused and intrigued. Yuji shouts from the sidelines, panic and awe mixing in his voice. "Denji, be careful, that's Sukuna!" Megumi, standing near the edge of the chaos, narrows his eyes. "You don't understand. This isn't just a curse. This is Ryomen Sukuna, the king of curses. If he decides to step in, no one survives casually." Denji doesn't pause. He isn't aware of the full scope of who or what Sukuna is. He only knows that there's a presence stronger than anyone he's fought so far, and that alone is enough to excite him. He grins, chainsaws revving even louder, sparks flying in chaotic arcs. Suddenly, the shadows condense, forming grotesque arms and faces that strike from every angle. Denji rolls, flips, and slices through them with a wild, insane efficiency. Each swing of his chainsaws obliterates the dark constructs, leaving trails of mangled energy and shredded shadow in their wake. Sukuna's amusement grows. This human, this chainsaw man, doesn't fear him. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't try to run. He faces danger head-on, laughing in the face of a king of curses. Sukuna feels something rare, genuine intrigue. Most beings that encounter him either beg, freeze, or die out of instinct. Denji does none of that. "Interesting," Sukuna mutters within Yuji. "You fight like a beast and think like a child. You might just be worth my attention." Denji, revving his chainsaws and cutting through the lingering shadow constructs, shouts, "Come on, you can do better than that." He doesn't know who he's addressing, but his reckless challenge resonates through the air, bold and unapologetic. Sukuna decides it's time to escalate. He subtly manipulates Yuji's body, sending a sliver of his cursed energy into the battlefield. It's not enough to harm Denji directly, but enough to create a shockwave of oppressive dread that washes over the area. Even seasoned sorcerers feel it pressing on their minds. Denji pauses for a fraction of a second, feeling a new kind of pressure. His grin widens even further. "Ooh, that's more like it!" He lunges forward again, faster this time, chainsaws whirring like a hurricane of metal and blood. Every strike, Denji makes tears through Sukuna's shadows, but they regenerate almost instantly, adapting to his style, learning from his movements. The dance between them is no longer just brute force. It's instinct versus calculation, chaos versus control. Yuji and Megumi watch from the sidelines, both terrified and fascinated. "He's not just fighting," Megumi murmurs. "He's growing in real time. Every attack he survives, every shadow he cuts, he becomes more dangerous." Sukuna grins wickedly, sensing the primal thrill radiating from Denji. This human, or whatever he is, could disrupt the natural order of fear in the world if left unchecked. And that's the most entertaining thought in Sukuna's existence. Finally, Denji stops mid-street, chainsaws slowing, dripping blood and debris everywhere. He laughs, chest heaving, exhilarated by the intensity of the fight. "Okay, that was fun. Who's next?" Sukuna leans back slightly, still hidden, still amused. He doesn't reveal his full power, doesn't engage fully. Yet in that moment, he knows one thing. Denji isn't just another chaos maker. He's a wild card, a force beyond normal understanding, a being that could either become an ally, a tool, or a nightmare for the entire Jujutsu world. The air shivers with tension. Sorcerers tighten their grips on weapons. Curses hesitate at the edges of the battlefield. And Denji? He revs his chainsaws once more, completely unaware of the storm he's caught Sukuna's attention with. This isn't just another fight. This is the beginning of a deadly game, and Sukuna is playing. The collision of Chainsaw Man and the King of Curses is inevitable, and the universe is already bracing for the chaos that will follow. The stage is set for a confrontation that will challenge everything both beings know about fear, instinct, and power. Denji has drawn the attention of a god-level threat, and Sukuna has finally found someone unpredictable enough to intrigue him. Nothing will ever be the same. The moment Sukuna's interest is piqued, the world around Denji doesn't slow down. If anything, it accelerates. The streets of Shibuya are still a war zone, but now a more sinister shift occurs. The lingering curses, sensing the presence of something overwhelmingly chaotic, begin to gather. They aren't normal cursed spirits anymore. These are desperate, primal, and more dangerous than anything the Jujutsu Sorcerers usually face. They're drawn to Denji like moths to a fire, both instinctively recognizing a predator and craving the destruction he represents. Denji's grin widens. Oh, more playmates? Don't mind if I do. Chainsaws whir, revving to maximum, teeth gleaming as he scans the growing horde. These aren't the tiny curses that get exorcised with a flick of a shikigami. These are special-grade, grotesque beings, contorted faces, elongated limbs, writhing shadows that scream in pain and rage as if they know they're about to die violently. And they're hungry, hungry for blood, hungry for chaos, hungry for Denji. Yuji yells, "Denji! They're not just any curses. These ones can overwhelm you if—" "Relax," Denji interrupts, charging forward with insane confidence. "I've dealt with worse. Bring it on." And just like that, the first wave hits. It's a living nightmare. Arms made of screaming shadows lunge. Faces with endless mouths snap. Some curses stretch taller than buildings, their weight crashing into the streets as though the city itself is under siege. Yet Denji doesn't falter. He doesn't hesitate. Chainsaws slash in a furious arc, tearing limbs, skulls, and appendages like paper. Blood and cursed energy explode in a chaotic dance around him. Every swing, every rev, every leap is a testament to pure, unadulterated violence. But these aren't mindless targets. They attack with coordination. Some rush him head-on, others circle, and the larger curses try to trap him in crushing strikes. They've adapted. They've seen humans, sorcerers, and other devils. But Denji's movement is unlike anything they've ever encountered. He spins, leaps, and slices, taking down 3 massive curses in one swing. One grabs him from behind with a clawed hand, trying to crush his spine. Denji laughs, revs the chainsaws, and twists violently. The hand isn't just broken. It's shredded down to nothing, dissolved by the raw, irrepressible force of his blade. Yuji gasps, "He's unstoppable." Megumi mutters, "Not unstoppable, unpredictable. That's worse." The cursed spirits aren't giving up. New waves arrive, emerging from shadows, alleys, and even collapsing buildings. Their distorted forms blend together into a moving nightmare, a mass of writhing faces and limbs that scream in unison. They're relentless. They're driven by instinct and malice, but nothing can prepare them for Denji's brand of chaos. Denji leaps into a pile of towering curses, chainsaws roaring like an engine possessed. Flesh, bone, and cursed energy explode in every direction. He rolls out, spraying blood and debris, and immediately spins back in, cutting down the next wave before it can even react. His laughter echoes through the ruined streets, pure manic exhilaration. Yuji and Megumi exchange a look. "He's not just fighting them," Yuji says. enjoying it, feeding off it. Megumi nods grimly. Exactly. That makes him more dangerous than any curse here. Even the special grade curses are starting to falter. They weren't expecting a predator like this, a being who thrives on chaos, who regenerates instantaneously, who fights with instinctive ferocity, and above all, who refuses to stop. Their attacks, once coordinated and deadly, begin to falter under the sheer intensity and unpredictability of Denji's offense. Denji doesn't care about strategy. He doesn't care about numbers. He doesn't care about danger. All that matters is the thrill of the fight, the feel of the chainsaws tearing through flesh, the roar of destruction echoing around him. Every curse he destroys only makes him more alive, more energized, more manic. And the cursed spirits aren't the only ones taking notice. From the shadows, weaker curses and other beings pause, sensing a force that doesn't belong to this world. Denji isn't just killing them. He's rewriting the rules. He's showing them that fear, pain, and death aren't limitations. They're entertainment, they're fuel, and they're chaos incarnate. As Denji continues his relentless assault, a massive, grotesque, cursed spirit emerges from the ruins. A special grade unlike anything Yuji or Megumi have seen in Shibuya. Its multiple faces scream simultaneously, its body stretching impossibly as it towers above the city street. Its energy pulses like a heartbeat of pure malice, attracting every curse in the area to converge on Denji. Yuji gasps, "That one? It's a special grade! Denji, be careful!" Denji pauses just long enough to grin. "Special grade? Perfect! I was getting bored anyway." He launches forward with a scream, chainsaws spinning faster than ever, the street around him exploding with every step. The cursed spirits rush toward him, and what follows is pure chaos. A violent ballet of flesh, metal, blood, and cursed energy. Limbs are torn, screams echo, and Denji moves like a living hurricane, unstoppable, unrelenting, and utterly terrifying. Megumi and Yuji watch, realizing that this isn't just a fight. It's a spectacle. It's an event. Denji isn't just battling cursed spirits. He's dominating the ecosystem of fear itself, rewriting the rules as he goes. And every cursed spirit that touches him, every attack that fails, every regeneration that restores him, only amplifies the terror and excitement of the scene. This is Chainsaw Man at his full, chaotic, unpredictable best. The cursed spirits thought they could overwhelm him. They thought fear, coordination, and numbers would be enough. They were wrong. Utterly, completely wrong. And as the smoke rises, the air thick with cursed energy and flying debris, one chilling truth becomes clear to everyone watching. Denji isn't just a predator among curses. He's something entirely different. Something unstoppable. Something that changes everything in this world. The battle against the cursed spirits is far from over, but one thing is certain. Chainsaw Man isn't just surviving. He's thriving. And Shibuya will never be the same again. Denji doesn't slow down, not for a second. Every cursed spirit that lunges at him is met with the manic roar of his chainsaws and the explosive force of his strikes. Limbs, heads, and twisted forms are obliterated midair, raining blood and cursed ichor across the cracked asphalt. The cacophony of grinding metal, exploding flesh, and unhinged laughter echoes through Shibuya like a nightmare symphony. Even the special grade cursed spirit that emerged from the rubble, towering, grotesque, and screaming in multiple overlapping voices, can't predict his movements. Denji spins through the air, landing on its shoulders and carving a massive gash from its spine to the top of its head. The cursed energy around it flickers violently, destabilized by the raw, chaotic violence. The spirit wails in pain, thrashing violently, but Denji adapts instinctively, swinging in sync with its movements, shredding it further. Yuji watches in awe and terror. I've never seen anyone move like that. Even with cursed energy, he's on a completely different level. Megumi nods grimly, still summoning Shikigami to try and aid in containing the horde. He's rewriting the battlefield, Every curse that attacks him strengthens him in a way normal humans can't understand. Denji laughs, revving his chainsaws louder. Come on, who's next? This is boring if you don't put up a fight. He lunges again, slicing through multiple cursed spirits with precision that shouldn't exist given his chaotic nature. Yet somehow the combination of raw instinct, sheer aggression, and regenerative capability makes him a nightmare of unpredictability. The special grade spirit, realizing brute force isn't working, attempts to overwhelm him with cursed energy waves. The ground cracks under the pressure, rubble flying in all directions. Most humans, most sorcerers, would be crushed instantly. Denji? He rolls through the shockwave, laughing hysterically, chainsaws spinning like twin hurricanes. The cursed energy barely scratches him before his regeneration kicks in. Limbs that were shredded moments ago stitch themselves back together, and he launches himself straight into the spirit's chest. The impact sends a shockwave that topples surrounding buildings. Smaller curses are thrown into the air like rag dolls. Denji doesn't stop. He climbs up the massive spirit, revving the chainsaws against its head repeatedly. Sparks fly as cursed energy clashes with raw metal teeth. The spirit screams in pain and rage, a sound so distorted and unnatural it could drive a human insane. But Denji thrives in it, feeding off the chaos and intensity. Yuji and Megumi exchange worried glances. At this rate, he's going to tear the whole city apart, Yuji exclaims. Megumi responds quietly. He already is. But no one else could survive this fight the way he does. Denji's movements are almost artistic in their brutality. Every slash, spin, and rev is perfectly chaotic, perfectly destructive. Even the cursed spirits that swarm him in coordinated attacks are shredded before they can land a single blow. He moves like a living storm, a creature designed to cut through anything in his path, utterly unrestrained by logic or fear. The special grade spirit, desperate, tries a final gambit, absorbing the smaller, cursed spirits around it to amplify its size and power. Its body swells grotesquely, multiple heads forming from the mass, eyes glowing with malevolent energy. It roars, a sound that shakes the streets and rattles the remaining sorcerers. Denji pauses for just a moment, chainsaws spinning idly, blood dripping, adrenaline coursing through him. He tilts his head and laughs. You think that's going to stop me? Ha! I was hoping for a real challenge. With a single explosive sprint, he launches himself at the massive spirit. Chainsaws grind against cursed flesh, tearing apart heads, arms, and energy cores alike. Each strike sends shockwaves across the battlefield. The smaller curses that were feeding into it are obliterated instantly. The spirit collapses under the relentless manic assault, pieces of cursed energy exploding in every direction. Yuji shields his eyes from the sheer carnage. He did it all by himself. Megumi exhales slowly, and somehow, he's barely breaking a sweat. Denji lands on the rubble, revs his chainsaws one last time, and looks around at the battlefield. Piles of destroyed cursed spirits litter the streets. The city is scarred, but he's standing, grinning like he just had the best day of his life. Okay, who's next? That was fun, but I'm ready for more. Even the remaining sorcerers realize it now. Denji isn't just surviving cursed spirits. He's dominating them. He's a force that operates outside the rules of this world, a predator among predators, a chaotic whirlwind that nothing can contain. And from the shadows, Sukuna watches, still amused, still intrigued. He sees Denji tearing through cursed spirits, not out of strategy, not out of duty, but for the pure thrill of the fight. That same thrill, that raw, unfiltered drive, is what makes Denji stand out in a world already full of curses and chaos. Sukuna's grin widens. This is a creature he must study, a force he wants to toy with, and perhaps in the future a weapon or a challenge to rival even his own power. For now, though, Denji continues, chainsaws roaring, laughter echoing, leaving nothing but carnage and awe in his wake. The cursed spirits are gone, but the message is clear. Denji doesn't just fight. He destroys, he entertains, and most importantly, he thrives in the chaos that would break anyone else. Shibuya will never forget this rampage. The world of Jujutsu Kaisen will never forget the Chainsaw Man. And somewhere deep inside, Sukuna already begins planning how to interact with this wild, unpredictable force that has now carved its name into his attention. Denji doesn't pause. Even with the cursed spirits destroyed, his adrenaline is still surging, and the chaos around him feels like fuel. He spins in place, revving his chainsaws as the debris and smoke swirl around him. The battlefield looks like a war zone, a mix of shattered streets, demolished cars, and mangled cursed corpses. But to Denji, it's nothing more than the perfect playground. From the shadows, smaller cursed spirits begin to hesitate. They sense the energy radiating from him. Some of them have fought special grades before. Some even faced Jujutsu Sorcerers, but Denji's presence is fundamentally different. He's not just a human with cursed energy. He's a force of nature. He doesn't fear death. He doesn't calculate. He acts. And acting without fear makes him unpredictable, untouchable, and utterly terrifying to any being that relies on instinct or logic. Yuji, still catching his breath, watches in disbelief. I don't even know how to describe what's happening. He's not just strong, he's unreal, Megumi adds, voice tense. He's not just fighting them. He's rewriting how cursed energy interacts with his existence. Each strike, each attack. He's bending the rules of this world without even trying. Denji grins, spinning both chainsaws like twin hurricanes. More! I want more! He dashes forward into the street, blood splattering from fresh wounds that have already begun regenerating. The cursed spirits that had previously been hesitant regroup, rallying around their larger counterparts, desperate to strike this anomaly. Their attacks are coordinated, brutal, relentless. But Denji's movements are even more unpredictable. He ducks, rolls, leaps, and spins, chainsaws revving in perfect rhythm with the chaos around him. The larger cursed spirits attempt to use combined cursed energy attacks, trying to overwhelm him with concentrated blasts. One of the special grade entities slams the ground, sending a shockwave that cracks the pavement and flings debris like missiles. Another attempts a mid-air strike, claws extended and mouth wide, aiming to bite into Denji's unarmored body. Denji laughs, slashing through one of the claws before twisting mid-air to sever the other's head clean off. Sparks of cursed energy explode, and a rain of shredded flesh and blood follows. He lands in a crouch, chainsaws humming, eyes scanning for the next threat. Each movement is precise, yet wild. A terrifying combination of instinct, adrenaline, and raw violence. Even the most experienced sorcerers and jujutsu experts would struggle to predict his actions. Denji doesn't fight like a human. He fights like a phenomenon, a living weapon of chaos, fueled by thrill, hunger, and unshakable survival instinct. Each cursed spirit that attacks him either dies instantly or is forced into retreat. Their screams and twisted forms fuel him further, making his movements faster, his strikes deadlier, his regenerative ability almost comically effective. Yuji shields his eyes, witnessing a scene that feels apocalyptic. I've never seen anything like this. He's tearing through curses like they're nothing. Megumi grimaces, and every time he takes a hit, he comes back stronger. His regeneration is insane. We can't rely on standard containment techniques. He's beyond normal limits. Denji pauses briefly, spinning his chainsaws, surveying the battlefield. The cursed spirits that remain are fewer now, but they are bigger, more grotesque, more desperate. Special grades that were previously hesitant now move with single-minded fury, coordinating in ways that only desperation allows. They launch combined cursed energy attacks, aiming to crush him before he can react. Denji doesn't flinch. Instead, he revs his chainsaws louder, a manic grin plastered across his face. Finally, someone is actually trying to fight me. He charges, a blur of metal and motion cutting through cursed energy blasts midair. One massive cursed spirit attempts to engulf him, but Denji slices through its torso in a single swing, creating a geyser of blood and cursed energy. Another attempts to bite him from above, but he twists, spins, and decapitates it mid-leap, chainsaw still revving like a living heartbeat. Even the remaining curses hesitate, sensing the storm that is Denji. He isn't just a fighter. He's a phenomenon that bends the laws of survival, a predator that thrives on chaos, and a machine of destruction that grows stronger the more he is attacked. And in the midst of all this carnage, Sukuna watches, hidden, observing, calculating. He sees Denji carving through cursed spirits not for duty, not for gain, but for pure, unfiltered thrill. That unrestrained instinct, that reckless joy in combat, is exactly the kind of chaos Sukuna finds irresistible. It's not just power, it's unpredictable. It's a force that can rival curses, sorcerers, and even the natural order itself. Sukuna smiles internally, dark and calculating. This human, or whatever he is, he's not just interesting, he's dangerous, and he's fun. Very fun. Denji doesn't care who notices. He revs his chainsaws one more time, launching himself into the remaining cursed spirits with renewed ferocity, leaving nothing alive in his path. The battlefield becomes a blur of spinning blades, blood, and shattered cursed forms. A symphony of destruction conducted by a living hurricane of chaos, known only as Chainsaw Man. The cursed spirits thought they could overwhelm him. They thought numbers and coordination would matter. They were wrong, utterly, catastrophically wrong. And as the dust settles, as the smoke begins to clear, one undeniable truth is visible to all who survived. Denji doesn't just fight cursed spirits, he dominates them. He thrives in chaos. He is chaotic. And in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, that makes him something both terrifying and extraordinary. Shibuya lies in ruins, the screams of the fallen lingering like an echo of madness. Denji stands amidst the carnage, chainsaws dripping, chest heaving, grin wider than ever. Okay, that was fun, but I want more. And somewhere deep in the shadows, Sukuna watches, intrigued, amused, and already planning the next move. The stage has been set for a collision that could shake the foundations of this world. The King of Curses has taken notice, and the Chainsaw Man has just declared that no cursed spirit, no matter how powerful, will stand in his way. The battlefield grows eerily quiet for a moment. The kind of silence that only happens after absolute chaos has torn through everything. Shibuya's streets are crumbled, vehicles crushed, cursed energy lingering like smoke in the air, and the remnants of defeated cursed spirits lay scattered like broken toys. But Denji? He's not done. Not even close. Chainsaws still revving, he spins in place, surveying the carnage with a manic grin plastered across his face. His chest heaves, blood mixes with sweat, and yet his body moves with the same reckless precision as if the fight has only just begun. Yuji shields his eyes, feeling a mix of awe and terror. He's still standing. After all that, he's thriving on it. Megumi mutters under his breath, eyes narrowing. This isn't just regeneration. This is something else entirely. He's amplifying through chaos itself. The surviving cursed spirits, weak but not entirely gone, start to regroup at the edges of the battlefield. Some attempt to hide in debris, others use the remaining cursed energy to form grotesque shields. They don't approach Denji directly, not yet. They instinctively sense something primal. This is no ordinary human, no ordinary devil, no ordinary threat. Denji is an incarnate, and chaos doesn't negotiate. It consumes. Denji revs his chainsaws, sparks flying with each rotation. He senses the lingering curses, feeling their fear even without seeing them. His grin widens. You're scared, huh? That's cute. Come on, don't hold back. He charges forward and the cursed spirits respond, desperate and aggressive. But even in their desperation, they are no match for his unpredictability. Limbs, heads, and bodies are shredded midair. Cursed energy bursts dissipating under the sheer force of his blades. Each strike sends a tremor through the ground. Each roar echoes like a war cry that reverberates through every corner of Shibuya. Yuji shouts, panic and awe mixing. He's not fighting them. He's feeding on them. Megumi grimaces, realizing the truth. Exactly. Every attack, every strike, every ounce of cursed energy used against him. It just makes him stronger, more insane, more unstoppable. Denji leaps onto a crumbling building, chainsaws spinning like a hurricane of metal. Dozens of cursed spirits converge, attempting coordinated strikes, but his movements are almost preternatural. He ducks, twists, and slices with precision that belies his chaotic demeanor. Blood and cursed energy explode in every direction, leaving trails of destruction. A massive special-grade cursed spirit, desperate and grotesque, emerges from the ruins. A twisted behemoth with multiple eyes and gnashing mouths. Its cursed energy pulses violently, trying to overwhelm Denji with sheer force. Yet he doesn't falter. He laughs, launching himself at the beast, chainsaws revving at maximum, striking limbs, heads, and energy cores with brutal efficiency. Every swing is a storm of destruction, shredding the cursed behemoth from the inside out. The smaller, cursed spirits, seeing their leader destroyed, hesitate, falter, and scatter. Their instinct tells them one thing: Denji is not just a threat. He is the apocalypse in motion. Yuji watches horrified. Even special grades, they're terrified of him. Megumi, still summoning Shikigami to assist, shakes his head. It's not just fear. He's an anomaly. Nothing in this world behaves like him. Denji lands in the middle of the battlefield, chainsaws idling slightly, blood dripping, body slick with energy. His grin is wide, manic, unbroken. That was fun, but come on! Where's the real challenge? And from the shadows, Sukuna watches, hidden but fully engaged. Every strike, every swing, every display of regenerative chaos captivates him. Denji is unlike any being Sukuna has encountered. He doesn't follow rules, he doesn't respect order, and he thrives in a way that makes even the King of Curses pause and calculate. Sukuna's thoughts are dark, calculating but tinged with rare amusement. This human, or devil, whatever he is, he's a phenomenon. He doesn't fear me, doesn't fear death, doesn't fear the world. He's unpredictable, chaotic, and dangerous. Very dangerous, but entertaining. Denji doesn't know it yet, but by tearing through cursed spirits with unrelenting ferocity, he has not only dominated the battlefield, he has announced himself as a force that cannot be ignored. Every sorcerer, every curse, and now every high-level entity watching from the shadows knows one truth. Chainsaw Man isn't just another fighter in this world. He is a storm, a predator, a living weapon of chaos. And as the smoke rises from the ruins, as blood and cursed energy mix with dust and debris, one chilling truth settles over the city. Denji hasn't just fought cursed spirits, he has conquered them, and anyone who underestimates him next will learn the true meaning of chaos incarnate. The city trembles, the survivors stare, and in the shadows, Sukuna's grin widens. A new game has begun. Denji, the Chainsaw Man, has marked himself as a force the Jujutsu Kaisen universe cannot ignore, and Sukuna is already plotting how to engage with this unpredictable hurricane of violence. The stage is set, the cursed spirits are gone, but the storm has only just begun. Denji thrives in chaos, revels in blood, and with Sukuna watching, nothing will ever be the same. The collision of worlds is far from over, and the next wave of carnage is inevitable. Before we dive into the heart of this conclusion, let's pause for a second. Take a moment and imagine the scale of what we've just witnessed. Denji, the Chainsaw Man, has crashed into the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, tearing through curses, overwhelming sorcerers, and even catching the attention of the King of Curses himself, Sukuna. Entire streets of Shibuya lie in ruins. Dozens of special-grade cursed spirits have been obliterated, and the city's balance has been shattered in ways that no one, not even the most experienced sorcerers, could have predicted. And now, the dust begins to settle. But with every piece of rubble that falls, with every lingering scream of cursed energy dissipating into the air, a question looms over the survivors, over the observers, and over anyone who dares to confront Denji. Is this a new balance, or the beginning of a new disaster? Yuji and Megumi stand amidst the chaos, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Yuji's chest heaves, not just from exertion, but from the realization that the world they knew has shifted irreversibly. I don't even know how to handle this, he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. He's not like anyone we've ever faced. He doesn't follow rules. He doesn't care about fear. He doesn't stop. Megumi's expression is grim, calculating. He surveys the battlefield, noting the destruction, the lingering cursed energy, and the subtle threads of chaos that Denji's presence has woven into the city. It's not just power, he says slowly. It's unpredictable. It's survival instinct amplified beyond comprehension. And that changes everything. Denji, meanwhile, doesn't pause to reflect. He revs his chainsaws idly, standing atop a pile of ruined, cursed spirits, blood and energy splattering around him. He looks at the ruins with a manic grin and mutters almost to himself, this is fun. Maybe the next one will be even better. His carefree, chaotic demeanor is both terrifying and mesmerizing. From the shadows, Sukuna watches. He's no longer merely interested. He's intrigued, excited, and cautious all at once. Denji's combination of fearlessness, raw instinct, regenerative power, and sheer destructive potential is unlike anything he's encountered. Sukuna leans forward in Yuji's mind, dark amusement flickering in his thoughts. This human, or devil, doesn't just defy rules, he makes new ones. And that right there is the crux of it. Denji doesn't integrate into the Jujutsu Kaisen world like a sorcerer following technique or a curse following instinct. He forces the world to adapt around him. Sorcerers, cursed spirits, even the king of curses now have to reconsider their understanding of strength, power, and survival. Denji isn't just a new variable in this universe. He's a force that destabilizes every assumption about how things work. But here's the twist. Destruction alone doesn't define him. While Denji is chaotic, reckless, and absolutely terrifying, he isn't malicious in the calculated sense. He fights for survival, for fun, for instinct. He destroys curses, but he doesn't kill without purpose, or at least not with the same intent as Sukuna or other malevolent entities. That subtle distinction is what prevents this chaos from immediately becoming absolute annihilation. In some sense, there is a balance, albeit one built on constant tension, unpredictability, and the perpetual potential for disaster. Yuji, observing Denji's interaction with the destroyed cursed spirits, finally mutters, Maybe he's not just a disaster waiting to happen. Maybe he's a balance we didn't know we needed. Megumi doesn't answer immediately. He's calculating, thinking several steps ahead. He knows Denji's presence will ripple through the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Allies and enemies alike will have to contend with this new reality. And then there's the looming shadow of Sukuna. His interest in Denji is far from casual. The King of Curses thrives on dominance, challenge, and entertainment. Denji offers all three: chaotic, unpredictable, unstoppable. Sukuna's involvement alone could tip the scales toward catastrophe, depending on his whim and how he chooses to engage with this wild card. For the Jujutsu Kaisen world, Denji's arrival is a paradox. On one hand, he annihilates cursed spirits that threaten civilians, sorcerers, and the natural order. On the other hand, his sheer power, unpredictability, and reckless tendencies could just as easily escalate into a disaster no one is prepared to contain. And that's the beauty of this collision. It's not about who wins or loses. It's about how the universe reacts. Denji has entered as a force of nature, neither inherently good nor evil, but something entirely new, a living question mark on the fabric of reality. Every sorcerer, every cursed spirit, every entity observing now has to reconsider. What does power truly mean when rules don't apply? In a sense, this is the birth of a new era in Jujutsu Kaisen, an era where chaos and instinct coexist with cursed energy and sorcery, where a single wild card can challenge even the king of curses. And whether that becomes a balance or a disaster, well, that depends entirely on what happens next. But one thing is undeniable. Denji, the Chainsaw Man, has forever altered the landscape of this universe. Shibuya will never be the same. Sorcerers will never be the same. And the King of Curses, Sukuna, has finally found a force worthy of his curiosity. The question remains, will this collision forge a new precarious balance, or ignite a disaster that the Jujutsu Kaisen world cannot recover from? Denji stands in the ruins, chainsaws humming, laughter echoing, oblivious or perhaps unconcerned about the chaos he has unleashed. The world has changed because he exists, and the stage is set for a future where anything is possible. New alliances, new rivalries, and an endless potential for destruction and exhilaration. This isn't just the end of a battle. It's the beginning of a story that the Jujutsu Kaisen universe has never seen before. And with Denji, the Chainsaw Man, in the mix, nothing will ever be predictable again. As the smoke clears and the echoes of destruction fade, the implications of Denji's presence begin to settle. Not just for the surviving sorcerers, but for the very fabric of the Jujutsu Kaisen world. The cursed spirits that remain are weaker, wary, and confused. Even lower-level curses sense that something has fundamentally changed. Denji isn't just another threat. He's a phenomenon. An apex predator that bends the rules without understanding or caring for them. Yuji looks around at the wreckage, the bodies of cursed spirits still twitching with residual energy. I don't know if we can contain this, he admits. His voice carries both awe and fear. He's not just fighting curses. He's rewriting the way they interact with the world. Megumi, standing on a cracked rooftop, folds his arms and observes silently. His analytical mind notes patterns even in the chaos. It's not just his strength, he finally says, voice low and measured. It's his unpredictability. He doesn't strategize, he doesn't plan, yet he adapts instantly. Every cursed spirit that attacks him either dies or becomes a tool in his favor. That's something we've never encountered. Denji doesn't wait for acknowledgement. He revs his chainsaws again, surveying the ruined streets with a manic grin. His body is slick with blood and cursed energy, yet every movement is fluid, effortless, deadly. That was fun! Who's next? He shouts into the empty streets, the sound of his voice bouncing off the broken buildings like a declaration of chaos. And somewhere in the shadows, Sukuna watches, his interest deepening. The King of Curses doesn't act immediately, but his thoughts churn with possibilities. Denji's combination of raw instinct, regenerative ability, and sheer love for chaos is unlike anything he's ever encountered. Here is a being who does not fear him, who thrives in the midst of absolute danger, and who can tear through curses with a ferocity that rivals even Sukuna's own power. This human, or devil, whatever he is, could be more than just entertainment, Sukuna muses. He could be a tool, a challenge, or a catastrophe waiting to happen. And that's exactly what makes him interesting. The streets are littered with broken buildings, shattered vehicles, and remnants of cursed energy. But Denji seems unaffected by the devastation around him. He thrives in it. Each wave of destruction, each pulse of residual cursed energy only fuels him further. This is not just a fight. This is a proving ground, a canvas for his chaotic existence. The surviving sorcerers begin to grasp the magnitude of what has occurred. Denji isn't just a visitor to this world. He's a force that could permanently shift the balance between humans, curses, and sorcerers. The presence of someone so unpredictable challenges everything they've learned about combat strategy and the limits of cursed energy. Yuji exhales, trying to process it all. So, what do we do now? How do we even deal with someone like him? Megumi's expression is grave. We don't deal with him. At least not yet. Denji is a variable we can't control, but he's also a force that curses and sorcerers alike have to respect. For now, we observe, we adapt, and we prepare. Denji, of course, doesn't care about preparation or strategy. He revs his chainsaws once more, spinning them idly as he looks out over the city. I'm just getting started, he mutters with a grin. Who's going to give me a real fight? And in that statement lies the heart of the paradox he brings. He is a chaotic force that could either protect or destroy, entertain or annihilate. He doesn't follow rules, he doesn't adhere to morality, and he doesn't respect limits. And yet, in the midst of this chaos, a kind of balance emerges, a fragile, unstable equilibrium shaped by the sheer unpredictability of his actions. Sukuna's presence looms like a shadow over this new balance. He knows Denji is dangerous, possibly more dangerous than any curse or sorcerer currently alive. But danger is entertaining, and to Sukuna, entertainment is a currency. He smiles, dark and calculating, already anticipating the day when their paths fully cross. For the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, Denji's arrival is a turning point. Entire systems of power, strategy, and hierarchy must now adapt to a force that cannot be predicted or constrained. The future is uncertain. The threat is immense. And yet, somehow, there is a strange sense of exhilaration, because in chaos lies opportunity, and in unpredictability lies possibility. Denji, standing atop the ruins of a city that has become his playground, revs his chainsaws one final time for now. Blood drips from his arms, his grin stretches wider than ever, and his laughter fills the empty streets. He doesn't know what tomorrow will bring, and he doesn't care. He only knows one thing. Wherever there's chaos, wherever there's a fight, wherever there's energy to devour, he will be there, chainsaws ready, reveling in the thrill. The question lingers over the ruins of Shibuya. Will this new force bring a precarious balance, or will it ignite a disaster that consumes everything in its path? For now, the answer remains unknown. But one thing is certain. Denji, the Chainsaw Man, has irrevocably altered the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, and nothing will ever be the same again. Denji's laughter echoes across the ruined streets, bouncing off broken buildings and twisted metal, carrying a manic energy that seems to vibrate through the very air itself. He revs his chainsaws idly, watching the lingering, cursed energy dissipate into the atmosphere, yet his eyes are scanning for the next source of chaos. The thrill isn't over. It will never be over for him. This is not just a fight, it's a game, and every opponent, every cursed spirit, every challenge is a toy to be torn apart and enjoyed. Yuji and Megumi stand among the ruins, the weight of the day pressing down on them. Yuji shakes his head, disbelief and awe mingling in his expression. I can't believe what I just saw. He doesn't fight like anyone else. He doesn't follow rules. He doesn't even fight fair. He just exists in chaos, and everything else bends around him. Megumi folds his arms, calculating the implications with his typical cold precision. Exactly. Denji doesn't just survive cursed spirits, he dominates them. He thrives on their aggression, on their attacks, on their energy. He turns danger into fuel. That kind of instinct, it's unnatural, unprecedented, and that makes him both a potential ally and a catastrophic threat. Denji, oblivious to the weight of their words, leaps onto a fallen streetlight, spinning his chainsaws and laughing. Come on, where's the next wave? I'm ready. Bring it on. His manic energy radiates outward, almost tangible, as if he's daring the entire city to throw something at him. Even the remaining lower-level curses retreat instinctively, sensing a predator far beyond anything they've ever encountered. And in the shadows, Sukuna's attention sharpens. The king of curses leans back, observing, calculating, and savoring every chaotic moment. Denji isn't just strong. He's not just fearless. He's a force of nature, a hurricane of unpredictability that even Sukuna can't fully anticipate. There's raw instinct here, raw power, and most importantly, raw chaos. The kind that can challenge, disrupt, and even entertain the king of curses himself. Sukuna's grin widens. This human, or devil, whatever he is, he's fascinating. He doesn't fear me. He doesn't follow rules. He thrives in the destruction I usually orchestrate. Perhaps he could become a tool. Perhaps he could become a rival. Either way, he's worth watching. For the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, Denji's existence is a paradox. On one side, he annihilates cursed spirits with terrifying efficiency, protecting humans almost by accident. On the other side, his unpredictable, violent nature threatens the balance itself. Sorcerers have never faced anything like him. Curses have never fought against a being who literally grows stronger through chaos. And even powerful entities like Sukuna are intrigued and cautious. Yuji finally speaks again, voice tinged with fear and awe. So, is he a hero or is he a disaster waiting to happen? Megumi's eyes are narrow, calculating. He's both. He can save or destroy depending entirely on his whims. He doesn't operate within morality, rules, or strategy. He's instinctual. That's what makes him dangerous, and why we have to respect him. Denji doesn't pause for their debate. He revs his chainsaws, crouches atop a pile of rubble, and laughs manically. I don't care about rules. I don't care about heroes or villains. I just want the fun stuff. Bring it on. That, in essence, is what defines him. Unbound chaos, a force that does not negotiate, does not calculate, and does not submit. Denji lives for the thrill, for the fight, for the pure, unfiltered experience of destruction and survival. And that's what makes him both terrifying and mesmerizing to everyone around him. Sukuna, still watching, recognizes the rare potential here. Denji is unpredictable, reckless, and ungovernable. But that very nature makes him a candidate for either incredible alliance or catastrophic disaster. And Sukuna's amusement deepens because even he cannot fully predict what this chainsaw man will do next. For the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, this is a turning point. Denji's chaotic influence will ripple through sorcerers, cursed spirits, and even entities that dwell beyond conventional understanding. The balance of power, the rules of survival, and the strategies that once governed life and death are now in flux. Denji is the catalyst, the variable that cannot be controlled, contained, or ignored. And as the sun begins to rise over the ruined city, casting long shadows over the carnage, one undeniable truth emerges. The Chainsaw Man is here to stay. He doesn't belong to any side. He doesn't follow any order. He doesn't respect any hierarchy. He is chaos incarnate, a predator unbound by rules, and a force that will continue to shape the world in unpredictable ways. The question remains, will Denji bring a precarious new balance, a strange kind of order born from chaos? Or will his existence ignite a disaster that no sorcerer, curse, or entity can contain? For now, the answer is unknown, but one thing is certain. Wherever Denji, the Chainsaw Man, steps next, destruction, exhilaration, and chaos will inevitably follow, and the Jujutsu Kaisen universe will never be the same again. The sun rises fully now, illuminating the devastation Denji has wrought, but also the eerie calm that follows absolute chaos. Streets are shattered, cursed energy lingers in faint blue and red hues, and the city smells of smoke, blood, and cursed remnants. Denji stands atop the ruins, chainsaws idling, blood dripping, muscles tense yet relaxed, eyes scanning for the next source of excitement. He's the eye of the storm, the calm center surrounded by chaos he thrives in. Yuji and Megumi, still processing the scale of the destruction, glance at each other. Yuji whispers, He didn't just fight. He changed everything. Megumi's eyes are narrow, sharp, and calculating. Exactly. He doesn't merely participate in battles. He rewrites the rules. The existence of someone like him, it shifts the dynamics of every encounter, every curse, every sorcerer's approach from now on. Denji spins his chainsaws lazily, sparks flying. Balance, disaster, doesn't matter to me. I just want the next fight. His words, simple yet chaotic, encapsulate his very essence. He doesn't concern himself with morality, strategy, or consequence. All that matters is the thrill, the energy of combat, and the exhilaration of destruction. And yet, despite his reckless nature, there's a strange, almost inadvertent effect. Denji has decimated the cursed spirits, eliminating threats that could have endangered countless lives. He's chaotic, yes, but he's also a force that indirectly stabilizes a part of the world, by eradicating dangers that no sorcerer could handle alone. It's a fragile, uneasy balance, one built on the edge of catastrophe, maintained by the sheer unpredictability of his instincts. Sukuna's presence lingers like a shadow over the battlefield. He observes, amused, calculating, and deeply intrigued. Denji has captured his attention in a way that few beings ever have, not through controlled power, not through strategy, but through sheer, unbridled chaos and instinctive dominance. Sukuna considers the possibilities. Will this chainsaw man become an ally, a rival, or a weapon of destruction that even he must respect? This human or devil, he's more than just power, Sukuna mutters in Yuji's mind, dark amusement threading his voice. He's unpredictability made flesh, a storm that cannot be contained. And he's fascinating, terrifyingly fascinating. The surviving sorcerers look on, the weight of the encounter pressing down on them. They've witnessed something beyond comprehension. Denji doesn't fit into any framework they know. He doesn't adhere to hierarchy, honor, or logic. His existence challenges every assumption about cursed energy, combat, and survival. Yuji exhales, trying to make sense of it all. So, he's a hero, or is he a disaster waiting to happen? Megumi doesn't answer immediately. His mind races, analyzing the implications. He's both. He's a force that protects and destroys, entertains and terrifies, thrives on chaos, and yet inadvertently restores balance by eradicating threats. The question isn't whether he's good or bad. It's how the world adapts to him. Denji revs his chainsaws again, his manic grin reflecting the sunlight. Rules, morals, balance, who cares? I just want the next thrill. His voice echoes across the ruined city, challenging any remaining cursed spirit, sorcerer, or observer to step up. He doesn't wait for anyone to answer. He is the answer to chaos itself. This is the paradox he brings to the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, a being who thrives on chaos, but inadvertently shapes the world around him. He's not aligned with good or evil, human or curse, hero or villain. He exists as a force that redefines balance in unpredictable, often violent ways. The remaining cursed spirits scatter, sensing the predator in their midst. The sorcerers know they've witnessed an event that will alter the rules of engagement forever, and Sukuna, silently watching, recognizes a potential rival, or perhaps an instrument of destruction that could one day rival his own power. Denji, still reveling in the chaos, looks over Shibuya with a wide, manic grin. Blood drips from his arms, chainsaws whirring, eyes gleaming with uncontainable energy. He doesn't know what the future holds, and he doesn't care. All that matters is the next thrill, the next fight, the next moment where chaos and instinct collide. And as the sun fully rises, illuminating the ruins, one undeniable truth becomes clear. The Jujutsu Kaisen world has changed irrevocably. Denji, the Chainsaw Man, has arrived, and his presence will echo through every corner of the universe. The question remains, will his arrival bring a new balance, a precarious coexistence shaped by chaos, or will it ignite a disaster that consumes everything in its path? For now, the answer is uncertain, but one thing is undeniable. Wherever Denji goes, whatever he does, destruction, exhilaration, and unpredictability will follow. The Chainsaw Man is here, and nothing and no one will ever be the same again. The collision of worlds is complete. The age of Denji in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe has begun. And that's a wrap on this insane what-if scenario. Chainsaw Man entering the Jujutsu Kaisen world didn't just shake things up. It tore through everything we thought we knew about power, chaos, and survival. What do you think would happen next if Denji crossed paths with Sukuna directly? Drop your theories in the comments. I'm dying to see what you all come up with. If you enjoyed this chaotic crossover, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next wild what-if adventure. Until next time, stay curious, stay chaotic, and I'll see you in the next video.